In this demonstration, we're going to verify that the 9971 phone that we just configured using Quick User Phone Add is registered to our Unified Communication Manager database. That should give us two phones, this one and the one that we registered a few demonstrations ago. And once we've got two phones in our database, we can test by placing calls. I mean, isn't that the fun part about being a collaborations administrator? Being able to make calls? Doot, 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 doot. Yes, hi, is your refrigerator running? You better catch it. Come on, who hasn't done that at least once? But we're not done there, because we're also going to give you troubleshooting tips, so that when you register IP phones in your cluster, everything goes smooth and easy. We're back at our Unified Communication Manager cluster, and we're going to check on our phone by going to Device, Phone, Find, and we should see that we've got two phones registered, and we do. Both of these are our 9971 phones. We registered one the old-fashioned way, by manually adding the phone, and then we just registered the second phone to the user Joe Doe by using Quick User Phone Add. They're both in the database. Let's go ahead and select one. I want to point out some options because the 9971 is a special kind of phone. It has all kinds of cool features. It has a HD camera, it can use Wi-Fi, it supports Bluetooth. I've got a few of them, and I use my Bluetooth headsets to connect so that when calls come in, I can answer, talk as I'm walking around the room. It connects to the network wired and wirelessly. It supports video calls so that you can call in and talk to other telepresence endpoints or other 9971 phones, and you can see one another. And if we scroll down here, all the way to the bottom, we're going to examine some of the product-specific configuration options. And we're going to enable the camera, and we also need to enable video access or video capabilities if we want to be able to send and receive calls using video. We have to do this on all of the endpoints. So if you wanted to have a video call between two of these, then you'd have to do this on both. And then some of the other settings, as I mentioned, we have Bluetooth, we have Wi-Fi, we've got just a variety of settings. We're going to drop down to the bottom, and the other setting that I wanted to make sure that I adjust is going to be the separate audio and video mute. By enabling that, the checkbox is checked. Go ahead and click Save, and then we're going to click Apply. You can enable and disable options based on your deployment. And it looks like when we click Save, we have an attempted violation of security protocols. This is an ominous-looking message that's very common. I'm actually glad that it happened. I get it frequently. When you're configuring a device, and you click Save twice really quickly, or if you make some changes, click Save, and then you go back to that same device, try to make more changes and click Save, this can happen. The solution is basically just to ignore it, to go out to whatever object you were configuring, and then to go back into it. I think we were on this one. Scroll down. Often, when you see that error, the change that you made when you click Save is applied. So we can just completely ignore it. But I want to verify. I want to verify that the camera, okay, so it didn't take. Or we were working on the other phone. I can't remember. Either way, we're going to change and enable the options that we had set before, and then separate audio and video. Now, since we went out and we came back to the phone, now when we click Save, it should work fine. Click Apply, click OK, and we shouldn't get this message. So when you see that attempted violation of security protocols, you haven't committed a misdemeanor. It's something funky that the Unified Communication Manager does. The solution is to go out and come back into the object and continue on with whatever it is you were configuring. Now we want to do a couple things. We want to send and receive calls, and then we want to show you where we can go into the phone and pull up call statistics. We can see how many packets were sent, how many packets were received, how many packets were dropped. We can examine our QoS settings. It's a very useful feature. We want to show that to you. But we also want to show you what to avoid when registering phones so that you don't have any issues. And as we've shown in these demonstrations, there's not a lot to do, but what you do has to be done perfectly. Some of the main reasons why phone registration fails is going to be using the wrong MAC address. That's why I like to copy paste. I like to go to the switch that the phone is plugged into, copy the MAC address, and then paste it into Unified Communication Manager. The command that we're going to use to do that is going to be show CDP neighbors. We're going to copy it, paste it into our switch, and then we should learn the MAC addresses of the directly connected Cisco phones. Here on the switch that we're using, paste the command in, and there are the MAC addresses. We can see both phones plugged into both of these ports, and it's going to give us the MAC address. It tells us that it's a phone, so we're going to just copy, and we can grab that MAC address, paste it back into our text file. If you need more information, you can use the show CDP neighbors details command, and that'll tell you specific IP address, host name, all kinds of useful information. Okay, so we've seen how we can get the exact precise MAC address. Other things that will cause a phone not to register are going to be forgetting to put in the number. There has to be a main directory number associated to the phone, otherwise it's not going to register. So it doesn't really matter which number it is or whether or not it has a partition. That's irrelevant, but there has to be a number there. Something else that will cause phones not to register is a mismatch with the phone button template. Now we're lucky with the 9971 because we've only got the standard 9971 and then the individual template. But some other model phones will give you a wide variety of options to choose. And if you select the wrong phone button template that doesn't match the model, phone's not going to start. And then finally, the service. That's the big gotcha. The TFTP service and Unified Communication Manager service have got to be running on the Unified Communication Manager. And to verify that, once again, just to point it out because it's that important, we're going to take a quick trip back to Unified Serviceability. From here, we're going to go to Tools, Control Center Feature Services, select the server that's running Cisco Call Manager service, and select the server that's running the TFTP service. In our example, they're the same. Verify that the services have been activated, but make sure that the status has been started and that there's a start time. Everything looks good here. About 1 out of 100 times, the service just doesn't start. So we want to verify that it's actually running, and we do that by going to the Control Center Feature Services. The only other thing that we can think of that will prevent a phone from registering is going to be network issues. Make sure that your switch puts your phone in a VLAN that allows it to connect to the DHCP server, because the phone has to ask the server for its IP address and the IP address of the TFTP server. So you want to make sure your DHCP settings have that correct information. If you've got that in place, then there should be no reason why your phones don't register. We're going to go ahead and make some calls, and then we'll examine the call statistics. We've made some calls, and we're going to examine the statistics here on our 9971. In order to do that, we're going to go into Administrator Settings, press the Status button, and then Call Statistics, which is what we've done, and we can see the results. We're using G722 as our codec. We've got 20 milliseconds of packetization size. That means we're sending 50 packets a second because there's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. So if each packet has 20 milliseconds of audio, that means it has 1/50th of the content. We've received 727 packets. We've sent 731 packets. We have our average jitter, our max jitter, and then the amount of packets that have been lost and discarded. So using the call statistics will tell us codec and whether we're having any quality issues. So this can be a useful feature for the administrator and the end user. And that brings us to the end of the module. In it, we demonstrated how to configure Cisco Unified Communication Manager so that we could register collaboration endpoints. We showed you how to set up DHCP so that our endpoints can get the right information. They're going to need to know option 150 so that they can find their Trivial File Transfer Protocol TFTP server. We demonstrated how to configure Unified Communication Manager so that our endpoints can register. And then we also showed you what problems to look for and how to avoid them during registration so that you can make sure that everything's configured properly and your endpoints register. Coming up next, we're going to show you how to configure Unified Communication Manager so that we can register Jabber endpoints. We're going to introduce a new server. We're going to be using an IM and present server in addition to our Unified Communication Manager. That's coming up next, and we'll see you there.